Hello, everybody. Are we at war? I'm not sure if what we're doing right now with the U.S. bombing Iran, it's very weird because it's not a war as it's usually been sold us. Usually, where there's a war, there is a pretext for war. There is a manufacture of consent. But we weren't attacked. And it seems like we were sort of pushed into this situation by Israeli policy. It's no secret they've been wanting us to attack Iran for a long time. But it seems like the overall goal is more chaos and more mayhem to keep Netanyahu in office than it is some legitimate state goal. I mean, even regime change, which you could argue is illegitimate, probably is illegitimate, even that is not really the stated goal. I mean, sometimes they say it is, sometimes they say it isn't, and sometimes they say, well, the purpose of the bombing campaign is to take some pressure off the dissidents, and maybe they'll do regime change inside of Iran. Anyway, that's the point, is that every day there seems to be some new goal or excuse or explanation for the conflict. And Trump has distanced himself at one point for acting like it was his advisors that got him into this position. Other days he says, oh, we're winning and we're crushing. And other days it's like, well, we might take longer. We're in for the long haul. Then he says, well, we're almost done. The headlines are all over the place, so I can't follow what's going on. It just seems less of a war than a sort of orgiastic violence spree unleashed by people who are driven almost completely by visceral emotions and hatred, and it doesn't seem like it's anything that would even rise to the level of calling it a war. Like, what exactly is the politics here, other than, like I said before, saving Netanyahu? Because if Netanyahu was involved in a conflict, then for whatever reason he can't be removed from power, apparently. And so then he won't stand trial for corruption charges in Israel. So it's a nightmare. And I'm reminded, too, because there's no peace movement that has any power. If there was, we'd probably also have other things, right? Because if there was power, if these people who don't want war had power, we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in. And that's why I think when I think of, what's his name, the guy that was finance minister of Greece, Varoufakis, his first name escapes me, but he has some clips on YouTube, you can look him up. He says that the left has failed. I mean, what he meant was that the left has failed to oppose the centrality of markets, NAFTA, and the other free trade agreements. What was the Caribbean one called? CAFE. And that these free trade agreements and internal technocratic processes have put corporations, private equity firms, neo-feudal tech monopolies or oligopolies in the driver's seat. And the left has been in retreat for the last 40 years, while wealth has accrued to the top 1%. I mean, we're talking about trillions of dollars that floating in foreign bank accounts. American elites aren't the only ones who are stashing money in these accounts, but there is a lot of money, and more than enough money to pay for at least half the national debt, and it's not being taxed. I mean, that's basically what he meant, right? The failure of the left, but it's not really a failure of the left because there really isn't a left in the United States. It just doesn't exist for reasons I've explained before and will continue to explain. But I think it's more acute when it comes to our inability to have a peace movement in the United States, because the reality is, historically, Americans support violence. They love violence on foreign countries, as long as we're not losing. And the reason there's such opposition to putting boots on the ground is not because Americans don't want to kill foreigners, it's because we don't want to risk losing. That's what it is. If you look at the data, I'm not being mean here, just if you look at the data, Americans, for example, the original war in Iraq was supported by 80% of the population. That's George Herbert Walker's initial war, invasion, whatever. Then there was George W. Bush's war, an invasion, and most people supported that up until the point we were losing, which was 2006. Around there, that's when the press started to report bad news, like the sectarian violence. Before that, the public was largely supportive of the war. The public supported the war in Afghanistan until it turns out we were just basically wasting our time there and getting American servicemen and women killed. And, it's very hard to find a conflict that the American public doesn't support, because they've been told that's the right thing to do, even though these conflicts have absolutely nothing to do with them. Since the Vietnam War forward, none of these conflicts have anything to do with peace or prosperity here in this country. And that's pretty obvious. So it's absurd that the American public is still, that there isn't a really large peace movement in this country that is absolutely choking existence, because that's what's going to have to happen for there to be change. Until there is a complete shutdown of things in this country, you're not going to see anything change, and certainly not bombing of brown children abroad. That's not going to change. So, anyway, those are my thoughts on this. And, it's sad. It's sad that we're killing children, and we're blowing things up, and we're terrorizing people abroad and here, and I don't see any... if somebody's watching this thinking I'm out of line because somehow it's a good thing what we're doing over there, how can you say that when we don't even know what is the end goal? Trump is completely incoherent. I don't know what he's trying to do. It just seems like he's going to kill people. So, anyway, that's my view on the subject. So, talk to you later.